Tlaib is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Eliminating unnecessary regulatory burdens is a worthy goal. I get it. But we must also not lose sight of the fact that stewardship of public funds, getting the corporate welfare line, right? You're asking us to finance it, that it often demands us to have fair and effective regulations. In 1973, early disability rights legislation known as the Rehabilitation Act was passed. Section 504 of the bill ensured that people with disabilities couldn't be excluded from programs that receive federal assistance. Yet activists and advocates had to push for years for Section 504 regulations to actually be implemented, even going as far as having to do sit-ins and occupy federal buildings across the nation to get us to do what we promised. Today, one of the regulations still being fought right now is the proposed affirmatively furthering fair housing rule. So Senior Vice President Couch, can you please discuss, and I think it's important for all the folks that do this work, what it means for people, especially our neighbors living with disabilities, who have faced over and over again discrimination, including, again, in regards to the importance of implementing, going as far as trying to support affirmatively furthering fair housing rule.
So in yet another, thank you for the question, Congresswoman, in yet another attempt to really put some teeth and to move forward on the Fair Housing Act's authority to for HUD to push for affirmatively furthering fair housing, this administration in January of 2023, I think it was, proposed its version of affirmatively furthering rules, and Leading Age submitted comments to that proposed rule in support of the administration's efforts. What affirmatively furthering fair housing means in this iteration, or would mean if we could ever get it actually enacted and enforced, is that communities, and I think now housing authorities and multifamily providers like our members, we would encourage our members to participate in those processes, would have to demonstrate to HUD that they are actually not just complying with federal fair housing laws around accessibility requirements and other classes that are regularly discriminated against, but that they are furthering the efforts to meet the gap in where those housing needs are in their community, or risk HUD funds being pulled back. And we've done a lot of talk about, the federal government does this, you get that. The federal government does this.
Banks do that all the time.
Right, and so there's a quid pro quo there, right? We have lots of goals, and some of them include furthering fair housing goals.
And I'll tell you, I don't think Republican, Democrat, whatever you political, I don't think any of us have had a coffee hour outreach where we didn't have one of our disabled neighbors talking about housing issues and discrimination and not getting access. I do want to quickly talk about the new energy standards, which everyone is continuing to talk about. I know a single family owner might see an annual mortgage payment go up by, $247, but the annual energy savings will be about $751, meaning they'll save over $14,000 over a lifetime of their property on average. With the new energy standards, a family living in low, rise multifamily unit can save up to $314 annually on energy costs. And I'll tell you, I watch GTE. I think they're on their fourth. This is the energy. They're already increasing. I think this is the fourth increase in the year that we've been seeing. Again, it's gone to the point where we're seeing more record shutoffs and stuff. So, Vice President Couch, in a written statement, you mentioned how older households served by HUD Section 202 program have an annual income of just a little bit over $16,000. For someone in that situation, what might be better building standards mean for their physical and financial health?
Quite a bit. As I understand these new minimum energy standards coming from USDA and EPA, which again just apply to the federally backed programs, we're going to see those reduced energy cost savings for residents, and that's going to matter deeply in their pocketbooks when they have so little residual income left over after they do pay their rent. We're going to see increased resident health because of those air quality issues we mentioned a little while ago. We do think that buildings will be much more resilient to climate change and weather events, which will bring down the cost to the federal government to repair those and rebuild those buildings. And generally, we see decreased climate change, and those can benefit all of us.
And I really truly believe if you're getting federal financing or support, I think it's okay to ask for something in return, especially protections for our residents. I yield.
Thank you. The gentleman from New York, Mr.